Hi there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Cassie. Today we're going to be making a bunch of Slimline cards, and I'm going to be using this stamp set called Paper Hug. This is by Simon Says Stamp, and I'm just in love with this stamp set, just mostly because of all the sentiments that are on there and how amazingly perfect it is, especially considering all that's going on in the world today. We're also going to be using the Heffy Doodle Stitch Circle Dies, and then I have this Brutus Monroe Slimline Rainbow Collection. If it's not available anymore, I will have other options linked down below, like Trinity stamps and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and kick it off with some stamping. I have some Express It cardstock that I've put into my MISTI. I'm going to ink these up with some ink on 3 blackout ink. I plan to do a little bit of Copic coloring over these, so I'm going to stamp these a bunch of times. I'm going to end up having enough for 12 cards. I won't show you the making of all 12 cards, but they're all pretty similar. I just wanted to have a bunch of cards in my arsenal that were all basically just giving encouragement and love to my friends. So we'll start off with this coloring here. We are using some R's. This is the RV43, and I'll put that up on the screen here in a second when I realize it's not actually in camera. But I like to go from lightest to darkest, and so I've put down my lightest color, and my next color is actually R43. Those are not really together in the color wheel, but they actually go together really nicely. So then the next color that I'm going to use is R35. So we've used a 3-color blend, and it actually ends up being pretty dramatic. It's funny how when you put these colors down, if you don't blend them out, they don't always look that great. So now I'm going to work backwards and go over the top of that with the R43, and then I'll come in again with the RV42. And I'm going to do that for all of the hearts that you see on these pages. And then we'll do the little heart the same way, just a littler version. Now I need to color the skin tone, and I decided since these are from me, we'll use my skin tone. So I'm using E00 as my base coat, and I'll just put a wash of that color down, and then I'm going to come in with the E11 just to add a little bit of shading, adding in the little knuckles, things like that. And then in some of these cases I will blend it out, and others I leave it alone. And then we're going to use some W3 on the envelope. But all of the hands are colored the same. And once I have the W3 put down, we're going to come in with some W0 and just blend that out just a little bit on the envelope. And then we'll color the word hug. So we're going to use some B00 and some FBG2. And I am kind of going with an ombre, but we're doing a lot of flicking. And so when I start out with that B00, it really fades off into the cardstock. So I don't have really any color at the top. Then we'll come in with that FBG2, and I'm not hitting the sides necessarily, and I'm just flicking that up not quite as far. And then to blend that out, I'll come in again with that B00 just to, really blend it and get a little bit more flicking going on. So it's this really pretty ombre look, and I'll do that for all of the hug words as well. So what you see there is what I'm going to do for all of them. I wanted these to be pretty simple, easy cards, and just coloring them all the same made them that way. Now I'm going to pull out their matching dies, and I'll run this through my die cutting machine after I tack those down with a little bit of washi tape. This is probably the part of the cards that takes the most time, but it's definitely less time than trying to fussy cut all those. I stamped out a ton of the sentiments that came in this set, and they're all fabulous. I'm telling you, this is a wonderful set, and it's good for just any time, really, and especially now since we're not able to really see a lot of our friends or be with any of our friends. So I thought that was perfect. So I trimmed those down using my guillotine trimmer, and now I'm going to use the Heffy Doodle Stitch Circle Die and run that through my Heffy Doodle die cutting machine, the mini one. And so now it's time for a little bit of assembly. I'll show you a couple cards. I did make 12 though, and I'm keeping these very low profile, so I'm not using any foam tape, although you absolutely could. I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue all over the backs of these. Foam tape would make them just stepped up a notch, but like I said, I wanted these to be pretty low profile, and I wanted to be able to make a bunch of them quickly. And then I'll trim down this sentiment using the guillotine trimmer. So this will say a big, big hug. And I do stamp on the inside. I don't think I actually filmed that, but I do stamp on the inside of my card. And then for a card base, I have some cardstock that I have cut down to 7 inches by 8.5 inches. If you're making a lot of cards, I do highly suggest that maybe you get some Slimline pre-cut bases that Brutus Monroe carries, but this one was cut down to 7 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 3.5 inches. And then I'll just glue down my panel to the front of this card, and it is going to take up the whole front of that A2 size, or A2, that Slimline card. And then we're going to show you another one. For this one, I decide to trim down my panel 1/4 inch. I like to do that sometimes just for variant. And some of them I'll cut down 1/4 inch on top and, or on the side and on the top. But here I'll just do the same process of gluing each of those pieces down, just using the same liquid glue. I'll trim an angled banner or an angled edge here on the paper hug. So we've got paper hug, looks like it's coming out of the side, and we'll do the same thing with this one and glue that one down to the bottom, and it says paper hug, the next best thing to a real one. And then we'll trim off the excess, and then I'll attach this down to another Slimline card base. And then we'll leave a little tiny white border on the right hand side. So I did a lot of them like that as well. And then for just a little bit of extra something, I did grab out some Nuvo glitter drops in the color Aquatic Mist, and I'll do this for all of the words, or all the hug words that are colored this way. And this just is a tinted blue, and it has a little bit of glitter in it, and I'm only going up just about as far as I did with that darker Copic. And then when it dries, it's translucent, but it does have a tint of blue. So it's just a little bit extra. And then I, for this heart, decided to use some Morning Dew, but if you wanted to fill in a full heart, I highly suggest you get glossy accents. They will even out, and you won't have any lines or bumpiness like I have with this one. It works okay, but it definitely has a little bit of texture to it. So for the rest of them, I did pull out my glossy accents, but I did want to show you that it is possible with the Morning Dew. For a little extra, I did grab out my Simon Says Stamp Unicorn Confetti, which is some chunkier glitter that I recently got in the most recent card kit that Simon Says Stamp has. And I'm just sprinkling a little bit on the lower left-hand edge of that Morning Dew. And then I'll bump up all the extra. But here are the cards that I made. So it comes in a rainbow of colors. I have a whole stash now of encouraging cards that I can send out to my friends that might be having a hard time right now. And it's wonderful. But like I said, I'll show you in the very last picture what each of those looks like with their glossy accents and those glitter drops on them. So if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thanks for all the support you guys give, whether that be watching my ads or hitting that like button, subscribing, using my affiliate links. That all helps me keep producing videos, and I do appreciate it. So thank you again, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.